Are you able to quantify how much does this gridlock cost us?
We can also do that in a lot of ways. There's a company called Intrix. It's an international traffic data management firm, and they did a study in combination with the Center of Economic and Business Research, another global firm. Now, this study concentrated on 4 economies: Britain, the United States, France, and Germany. Here's what they found out: that traffic gridlock cost those economies approximately 0.8% of GDP. Now, if we were to assume, for this case, to look at it on our own perspective and to say, what is our GDP? 95 trillion naira. What is 0.8% of that? That's potentially costing us 760 billion naira annually.
Okay, we'll take the next step in just a moment. Do join us again.
It's the ever-busy Lagos-Ibadan expressway, faced with one of its toughest days yet. A standstill occasioned by a fatal accident that has left 3 people dead. While the dead and the debris are being evacuated, the motorists have nowhere to go. They are stuck due to a barrier created at the scene of the incident.
I'm supposed to be in Osogbo now to load back to Lagos. So see now, I'm still here. Which time I want to reach Osogbo today, which time I want to come back.
For some, it's a long trek. Which has impacted their shoes and slip-ons. The incident has set motorists back for almost 6 hours, and they're already counting losses.
Everybody here has an appointment. Some have emergencies, some have health issues. I have an appointment somewhere. I have to be in Imo by latest 4-5. But if I'm here by now, I don't know when I'm going to my place.
We need to get to Yola at least, let's say, on Thursday, because we have event there and it's a wedding ceremony, and the wedding will take off, let's say, on Friday, and we don't even know if we are going to meet up to what we want to do now, and the contract is given to us already.
As for this transporter, he feels government should be more responsive by creating alternative routes.
For a whole Lagos state as a state of excellence, how can a single road enter Lagos and cause a heavy traffic over 6 or 7 hours? And now we are still there. There's nothing to be done.
The wreckage is cleared. And the road outwards Lagos finally opens at about 3:45 p.m. This is followed by a vehicular rush and a backlog stretching as far as Ojota. While the road may have been reopened for use to motorists, the effect of this incident will remain for a very long time. Chris Illems, Channels Television News.
Welcome back, Jide. Could you go ahead? You were talking about how much the gridlock costs us.
So if we look at several studies, one of them had clearly shown that we're potentially losing as much as 0.8% of our GDP to traffic gridlock. But the narrative isn't that simple, because there are a lot of things that happens when we're in traffic. People often will make phone calls that they didn't plan to make. In simple terms, what that means is people are drawing down from their savings. But the shocking thing is that in some ways, traffic also, despite its negative impact on productivity of labor, potentially contributes positively to GDP, and I'll explain. Now, because GDP pretty much looks at the value of everything that is produced or bought, it simply means if we're in traffic and you are buying more from the occurs in traffic.
Even though in some states it's
illegal.
It's illegal.
But purchases
some time behind bars.
Certainly, and this clearly doesn't advise people to buy or patronize those in traffic. But yes, we lose a lot from families who get stuck in traffic and then they have to spend more money refilling their tanks. That is a huge cost because that is unplanned for. Then you also have the carbon emission cost, which is also a significantly huge cost. Then you also have missed opportunities in terms of meetings, appointments, and schedules that perhaps can never be shifted, and you totally lose from being stuck in an unplanned.
So that affects the GDP negatively.
Yes, that affects productivity, but as long as we're purchasing, it accounts to GDP. So for instance, if the government keeps fighting the Boko Haram war and buying equipment, even though that's a negative activity, the purchase of all those equipments.
Yeah, but aren't we losing far much more than you can ever purchase when you're in the gridlock?
And that's why we also often say that perhaps GDP is not the best measure of how we measure several activities in the economy. So countries like Netherlands, Hungary, prostitution, for instance, accounts and is part of their GDP. So it's a lot of back and forth, but productivity clearly is reduced based on several studies where we're in gridlock. But more than even productivity being reduced is to ask ourselves, how productive is the Nigerian worker? Now there are several ways to look at it. The
economy reflects, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We could look at work hours, but let's look at what everybody's talking about: made in Nigeria, non-oil exports, and we're pretty much really not doing so well in that. So, for instance, our total non-oil exports last year was 660 billion naira. Now that is all what almost 70 million people could produce. In simple terms, yes, we are losing productivity by being stuck in traffic, but we are losing much more by not asking the right questions on how do we want to solve our transportation problems. A transportation problem might not easily be solved by approaching it with a transportation solution.
All right, Babajide Ogunsanwo is Channel CV's data and information analyst. Thank you for coming on again today. Just before we wrap up, there are lots of tweets to us saying that yes, they know that ASU has given a 1-week warning strike, of which the authorities are trying to see how they could sort that out. But Ladoke Akintola University of Technology has been at it for, they say, 5 months already, and nobody is listening to them at the moment. So they want attention to be paid to Lautech. So there you go. That's where we draw the curtains today. What a week it's been, but we thank you all for still letting us be a part of your day. We'll see you next week. I'm Chamberlain. So
education, I smile when we talk about education. It's nowhere. Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
And it's been a pleasure serving you. I'm Mowe-Ibafo.